The following segments are pre-recorded and sponsored by Longworth Productions.
Understanding Stroke on Triad Today. Hello everyone, I'm Jim Longworth and welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you once again from the beautiful Cedar Botanical Garden in Kernersville. We'll tell you more about them later on, and later on is when the roundtable shows up. We'll get into all sorts of controversial topics with them, so stay tuned for that. Lots of great guests, important information coming your way throughout the half hour. Well, where we want to start is understanding more about stroke, signs and symptoms, treatments, that kind of thing. So we brought in an expert. A first-time visitor to the show is Dr. Tamara Ranasinghe. He's a vascular neurologist with Atrium Health, Wake Forest Baptist Department of Neurology and Neurosciences. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jim. Pleasure to be here.
May is Stroke Awareness Month. So let's first remind folks what a stroke is and how it happens.
Sure. So there are two types of strokes. Ischemic stroke is when there is an interruption of blood flow to the brain tissue.
Okay.
And what can happen is when there's interruption, the nutrients and oxygen does not get into the brain tissue.
Is that kind of sudden? I mean, do you know right away that it's not functioning when an ischemic stroke happens?
Yes, so then patients would start having weakness or difficulty to talk. It happens within seconds to a minute.
Okay, and then you said there's another kind of stroke.
Yes, so there is hemorrhagic stroke. Hemorrhagic stroke is less common than the ischemic strokes. In those, what happens is there is the blood vessels rupture or leak, and then the blood gets into the brain tissue.
All right. Now, in an email that you sent me, you talked about an acronym that you use with your patients to help them remember the signs and symptoms of stroke. And it spells out B FAST, okay? Let me take each letter and get you to give me a quick comment on it. B, the letter B, what do you mean?
Sure, that's sudden onset of balance issues.
And then E would be what?
E is if the patient is having sudden onset of loss of vision or double vision.
All right. F?
F is for sudden onset of facial droop.
And A?
A is for sudden onset of weakness in the arms or legs or even numbness.
All right. S?
S is for sudden onset of slurred speech or difficulty in bringing words out.
And then T?
T is having a terrible headache or the worst headache of your life. And also T stands for calling 911 time.
Yeah, and it's nothing to fool around with, man. I've talked to folks who have severe migraine headaches, but you know, if it's something out of the ordinary, folks need to really know to respond and get help, because that leads me to the next question. I know that you use a phrase sometimes, and it's called time is brain. What do you mean time is brain?
That is correct. So every minute that the brain tissue does not get any blood, about 200 million neurons die. So that's why it's very important. This is very time sensitive. Patients need to come to the hospital as soon as possible.
Now you say as soon as possible. Let's just, maybe we give a little solace here to folks at home. Is there sort of a window of time that folks should keep in mind?
Sure. It should be as soon as possible, but up to 4.5 hours from the symptoms start, we can give medication, IV intravenous medication to try and dissolve the clot. And also our endovascular team can go up and do a surgical treatment to take the clot out up to 24 hours from the time that the symptoms started.
All right, very quickly, the Comprehensive Stroke Center, that sort of reinforces what you're talking about, being able to move quickly on this and help, right?
That is correct. And what we do is, even before a patient comes, the EMS, we partnered with the EMS. The EMS lets us know the emergency team and the stroke team. So we are ready at the door when these patients come in to make sure these patients are taken care of.
Very comforting to know that, Doc, especially in a situation where people are panicked anyway and the family members. And I'm glad that you brought us that information. Up on screen, wakehealth.edu/stroke. We'll get you just some information there, and I hope you will certainly check that out. Doc, will you come back and visit with us sometime?
Sure, will do. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. We'll be right back after this.
Need help buying food? Everyone needs help sometimes. Food and Nutrition Services may be able to help you buy food and free up your money for other expenses, such as utilities and medicine. To receive F&S assistance, households must meet income limits. You may be able to get assistance even if you own a home, car, land, property, or have a retirement plan or money in the bank. Second Harvest Food Bank of Northwest North Carolina team members can help you with the application process over the phone. To receive help or if you have any questions, call 336-422-7758.
Hi, I'm Jim Longworth, reminding you that Triad Today is now streaming on WFMY Plus, available free on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. now on Triad Today, so glad to have these two folks with us, return visitors to the show, so they must like it here, I guess. But, on my immediate right, our friend Hank Henning, who's Manager of Local Government and Community Relations for Duke Energy, and another returning competitor here on this game show. Hannah Cochran is Director of Transportation for the City of Greensboro. Good to see both of you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Hank, let me start out with you because you sent me an email about something called the Lights on Greensboro program, which just concluded. Now, what was that all about, and how did that campaign materialize?
Great question. Yeah, and thanks again for having us. So the Lights on Greensboro campaign is really a campaign to raise public awareness about the need to call in lighting outages so that we know that they're out and we go out and provide good customer service and get them back on.
Now, what kind of lights are we talking about? You're talking about street lights?
Yes. Yeah, the street lights, whether it's in the neighborhoods or along corridors. The city contracts with us to take care of 27,000 plus street lights around town.
27,000 just in Greensboro?
Correct.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah, and so it's a big lift, and a lot of people don't realize that if they don't report them to us, we don't always know that they're out. We don't have a way of just an automatic notification system to tell us. We really depend on the public's help.
Yeah, because I think people sitting at home will think, well, somebody else will report it, but somebody else might not.
That's right, and there are easy ways to report it we'll get into, but you asked about the genesis of this. So several months ago, we had a town hall meeting that Duke Energy, we were invited to, and I was there along with our lighting folks on the company's behalf. It was in the Randleman corridor in East Greensboro. It was hosted by Councilwoman Sharon Hightower, and it was on public safety and helping to have more lighting around town in certain corridors. And what occurred during the meeting, residents were coming up and saying they'd had these lights out for a while, and they just thought that we weren't replacing them. And upon reporting to us that day, we had them up and going within a day or two.
Yeah, it's a quick response. Now, Hannah, how does this initiative help the city?
It really helps us in a lot of ways. Streetlights are really important, not just for public safety, but also for traffic safety. It helps people identify, especially in those dark overnight hours,
right.
Pedestrians, bicyclists, and ensure that they can see in critical intersections so that they can travel safely.
Now, we'll mention a phone number later on that you can still do this. Just because there was a campaign doesn't mean that just during that period of time, that campaign is about to conclude. But so far, I mean, would you sort of assess it as being successful, or?
For sure. What we noticed from the calls that come into the city that we then route to Duke Energy, we saw a marked increase, over 30% increase in a typical period of time. I
think that's great, especially as you said from a safety standpoint, that makes a big difference. Hank, with all this going on during the campaign and as it goes forward, hopefully, looks like that's going to, a lot more people calling in for these kind of things. Are you guys adjusting at Duke Energy to being able to handle the calls, or what?
Yes, great question. So we ramped up our resources during this time anticipating this, and we had similar results, 25 to 30% increased calls. And we typically try to have a response within 3 days, and we were about 99% successful with that. And just for everyone wondering, that extra 1% were lights that were damaged beyond just a bulb, so we had to order parts for. But all of them we went out and responded to within a couple of days. We're successful at that.
Hannah, is this something that you guys are going to continue in the city of Greensboro, another campaign push sometime in the future?
Yeah, we think that based on the success that we've had, that as we transition out of summer and into fall when there's longer periods of dark days, that we'll definitely do another push. It seems like it was a really good example of a partnership that
yeah, absolutely.
I want to thank the mayor and the council and the staff for having this partnership and working so closely with us.
Yeah, it was a great campaign, and up on screen, because it's not over to the extent that you should call when you see a light out. 373-2489, I believe, is the best number to call for that. That's up on screen, and duke-energy.com is the general website. Hank and Hannah, you make a good team. Will you come back sometime together?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, you don't have to bring him, but that's fine. All right, we'll be right back after this.
No matter the challenges, we were there.
Whatever the struggles, we were there.
And as the sun comes out, bringing the promise of a brighter tomorrow, we will still be here.
We're Duke Energy, and we're building a smarter energy future for you.
You know, it's hard to believe the Safe Sober program has been going strong for over 30 years.
And over 600,000 students have made the pledge to stay safe and sober on prom night. You know, Griff, it's had a huge impact on our community.
Yeah, you're right, David. And now we're making sure the message continues year-round.
So everyone can join us in supporting our students.
Learn more and take the pledge at safesober.com, sponsored by Daggett Schuler.
Right now on Triad Today, and this is going to be a segment with an international flavor. We are so glad to have this lady with us, although she's been around in our country for 5 or 6 years, I think 5 years.
5 years, yes.
Yeah, Bettina Kukwe is Department Head of Workforce Programs at Alamance Community College, and we welcome you to America and to the Botanical Garden. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you work closely with local industry to train students in manufacturing. I think we've talked about that before with some of your colleagues. But one component of that partnership is the apprenticeship program. Now, tell me about that.
So we do have apprenticeship programs both for youth and adults. Our biggest program is the Career Accelerator Program, or CAP. So that is for high school juniors and seniors. They can apply for the program and then do an apprenticeship with us, so the Alamance Community College, our Alamance Burlington School System, and one of 13 companies in Alamance County.
Yeah, what's really unique about that, too, you sent me an email about this, is that it's not just that they show up and go to class. You know, let's say they just came out of high school, they go to Alamance Community College, they're all excited. They don't just go to class, but they're also, you talk about pairing up with an industry, talk about that.
Correct. So they get 6,000 hours or more of on-the-job training, and then also an associate's degree from Alamance Community College. So it's a combination of on-the-job training, so getting your work experience, but also getting a degree.
Makes a big difference in terms of a benefit for the students. I assume, I mean, I'm making the assumption it makes a big difference in getting them, giving them a head start or whatever. I mean, how do you assess that?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So the student gets a lot out of that. So for example, they get a tuition waiver from the state, so they don't have to pay for their tuition. In fact, they also get paid by the companies for time in the classroom, and that's something very unique. I mean,
wow.
Most of us, when we went to school, we did not get paid for that. We had to pay a lot of money for it.
I don't even get paid now. It's a horrible situation.
Okay. So yes, so that's very great. And also the companies pay for books, so they don't have to pay for that either.
So everything's covered?
Everything is covered.
And you said, how many companies? 13 companies?
13 right now.
And they each will do that kind of thing?
They each will do that. The students also get a guaranteed job offer after they finish the apprenticeship program. And at the end of the program, they receive an associate's degree from Alamance Community College, as well as a certificate from the state of North Carolina and a journeyman certificate.
That is unreal. I mean, that's just great. I mean, I know that we don't have a lot of high school students. Well, on the streaming, we stream on FMY Plus. We get younger viewers, but on the broadcast, usually it's parents and older folks. Hopefully, they're going to tell their kids about this, because this is a great opportunity. Now, let me switch it on you for a second. Since I'm one of the older people in this room, or the only one, do you offer anything similar to this for older folks who want to get back in the workforce or go to school?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So we offer pre-apprenticeships, that's like an internship, and apprenticeships in manufacturing, skilled trades, horticulture, biotechnology, and we are in the process of setting up something for early childhood education as well.
There was something in an email you sent me about a Duke Energy grant. Our good folks from Duke Energy are here from time to time, here on this program today. Now, what was that about?
So that's a grant that pays for us basically to create new apprenticeship programs for adults, especially in the area of manufacturing and skilled trades. This program pays for tuition, books, and fees as well. And the students can really get a head start on a lot of things on their career, also receive that on-the-job training, of course.
Bettina, let's say that I'm a company that's interested in joining this sort of consortium partnership that you've set up. Now, is there funding available for me to set up an apprenticeship program, or do I have to bear that cost myself, or what?
Yes, there is a lot of funding available right now. So the state is putting approximately $16 million into the expansion of apprenticeships right now. One thing is the apprenticeship expansion funds, but also Apprenticeship Building America. That's a new fund that just came out. And that actually covers up to 50% of wages as well. So there are a lot of incentives for the companies.
This is just mind-blowing. I think this is a great program. I'm glad you're telling me about it and telling all of us about it. Up on screen, alamancecc.edu is the general website, which I hope you will check out. Bettina, will you keep us posted from time to time on how things are going?
Absolutely, will do.
Maybe even bring a student or somebody from one of the industries with you and come back.
That would be great.
All right.
Yes.
We'll be right back after this.
Are you looking to jumpstart your future in the fast-paced, rapidly growing food industry? In Second Harvest Food Bank's Providence Culinary Training Program, you'll learn the craft and art of cooking, plus business and management skills, science and nutrition, and essential life skills. Providence Culinary Training has helped hundreds of individuals just like you launch successful culinary careers. There's no reason to wait to turn your passion for food into an exciting career. Check out the upcoming class schedule on our website at providencews.org.
Hi, I'm Jim Longworth, reminding you to catch my column Longworth at Large and Yes Weekly every week. It's available throughout the Triad, or you can go online, yesweekly.com. Back now on Triad Today, and on this show over the last almost 20 years, we've talked about economic development, we've talked about arts and culture. Very seldom do we meld the two together, but we're going to do that right now. And the melder for this segment is sitting right here to my right. First-time visitor Josh Sherrick is Manager of Business Services for Creative Greensboro. That's under the Office of Arts and Culture. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Tell us about the economic impact that arts and culture are having on the city of Greensboro.
Yeah, I'll back up just 1 year, or a couple years ago. You know, the city of Greensboro said, we need to lift up arts and culture. We need to be more, intentional about what we do. And we created the Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs, Creative Greensboro, a few years ago. So, nothing like doing that in the middle of a, pandemic. But we have seen incredible, success across a lot of different realms. So, the city right away, we commit a lot of dollars that go directly into the artists', pockets, and we pay a lot of artists for that. So, when you talk about economic impact, there's so many different, multipliers and all of that. We really don't, we don't want to dance too much in that realm. We talk about what we truly did. And just this past year, we committed over $1.5 million directly to artists in our community.
Wow.
Through a variety of grant programs and residencies and different things. We measure that impact, and this is stats from last year. So this year's only been more successful. We were still coming out of the pandemic, but we had over 950,000 experiences. So we don't measure, our impact by visitors or whatnot. We try to say people have a cultural experience.
Absolutely. Now, you also manage the Greensboro Cultural Center. Very quickly, what's that about?
Yeah, so the Greensboro Cultural Center hosts about 18 nonprofit arts organizations in the space. It's relatively rent-free. We provide over $1 million in a value of rental. So we have galleries, dance studios, performance spaces, and really the point is this is a city facility that we want to bring artists and increase access to that space. And we've done that through a variety of different programs, the Grow Gallery, all these different things.
Now, what's the Grow Gallery?
So the Grow Gallery is a space up front. It's called the Greensboro Residency for Original Works. And what this is a place where we invite artists to come in. One, we pay them, which is really important, right? We compensate them for being there, and they do community engagement-based art. So they're creating art, whether it's visual production or performance or dance. Right now we have an artist in there specializing in the reuse of goods, finding stuff that you wouldn't think could be created into art and then teaching people from the community to do that. All free, and we compensate the artists.
Community, you guys have a lot of murals around Greensboro.
We do.
Now, what's the impact that public art has on the city?
Yeah, we've really become known as a mural city. And I like to remind people that tourism isn't just, heads in beds and motels and whatnot. That's what it's rooted in, but really cultural tourism is built by the public art that's in your space. There's beautiful public art here at this garden. All throughout Greensboro, I think we have over 150 murals that were, large format murals. There are mural tours now, all throughout the community. We've actually started a program where we go out into the neighborhoods, work with the neighborhoods to create street murals and crosswalk murals in their space. So the value of that is is really creative tourism and the beauty of what that has.
All right, very quickly, North Carolina Folk Festival. Give me a quick update on that.
Next week, they haven't really announced a lot of the artists in North Carolina Folk Festival. Next week on May the 10th, Wednesday, May the 10th, they have their Folk Affair. This is 13 international food providers, so people can buy tickets, come to it. It's a fundraiser for the festival kind of in the off season.
As you can see, I don't eat food. That's right. I want to put something up on the screen. Greensboro-nc.gov is a general website for the city, but in 5 or 10 seconds, is there a separate place or whatever people
Easiest
should
way
connect?
to go, creativegreensboro.com. We're on the social medias, but you will be impressed by our website.
I'm impressed by you.
Thank you, my friend.
All right. Even if you did come from Ohio. I don't know what that means. All right. Thanks, Josh. Will you come back sometime?
I'd love to.
All right. We'll be right back after this.
Baby, watch me fly. Baby, watch me soar. Baby, watch me fly. I will open up the sky.
Fly local, fly easy, fly PTI.
Veterans, when you're struggling, soon becomes later, becomes someday, becomes when. Don't wait. Reach out.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Back now on Triad Today, just about time for the roundtable, but a quick shout out to the good folks here at Senior Botanical Garden. Check out the website. Come visit the garden. You can take tours here, and well, you can't take a tour when Ogie's here because he'll charge you for that. But anyway, speaking of Ogie, he's on the right, but always the political left. Dr. Don Martin, chairman of the Forsyth County Commissioners, is with us. Keith Cranberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants. Guys, let's get to it. In order to deal with the shortage of police officers in North Carolina, law enforcement officials are recommending a $5,000 hiring bonus for in-state applicants. Sounds like a good idea. Also a $10,000 bonus for out-of-state transfers, plus $10,000 in relocation expenses. Guys, what do you think about all these perks for out-of-state hires?
I'm not sure. I think you ought to just raise it to 10 for in-state guys too. I'm okay with the 10,000 relocation. That's fine.
For out-of-state?
Yeah.
Don?
Well, I think the bonuses ought to be the same. I mean, the signing bonus ought to be the same regardless. And I think what if somebody lives on the coast and is moving here to the Triad? I think they deserve the moving expense just like somebody just across the line in Virginia.
All right. Keith?
I think moving expenses, but I think you need to pay extra for people who are from the communities. So if you can get bonuses for people from the communities that they're serving, I think they should receive extra bonuses more than people from out of state.
Absolutely. State lawmakers have passed a bill that would let teenagers get their driver's license after only 9 months of training instead of 1 full year as it is now. Supporters say it'll allow 16-year-olds to start driving themselves to school and work sooner. Opponents, and I've talked to some parents about this, say, wait a minute, we think they need all the training they can get. Where do you stand on this? 9 months of training versus 1 year, Ogie?
Yeah, we didn't get any training. I mean, we got a learner's permit, and in 60 days or whatever, you go get your license, and then you're on the road.
Right.
I don't get it.
You're okay with 9 months?
Yeah, I'm okay with less than that.
I'm okay with 9 months, but I think the state ought to monitor all that and just take a look, study it for a year and see if there's any difference in accident rates.
Accidents and, Keith, what do you think, 9 months instead of a year training?
If you ain't learned how to drive in 9 months, you ain't gonna learn how to drive in a year.
Yeah. You ever seen?
9 months is good. Yeah, I think I'm fine with that.
All right. Following the incident at Forsyth Tech where a drag queen simulated a sex act with a high school student, I told you guys that state lawmakers are going to jump on this and ban drag shows that take place in front of minors, and sure enough, House Bill 673 makes public drag shows a crime if kids are present. Guys, do you have a problem with the new law, Ogie?
Well, it didn't take them long, did it, Jim? Just like you
Couple
predicted.
weeks.
Yeah, that's about all it took, the Republicans. Well, they can turn on the TV and see RuPaul's Drag Race. There's also another drag show that's getting ready to premiere. The only drag queen I'm afraid of is one with a gun.
Yeah, which they don't have. But anyway, all right, Don.
I don't think that statute is that bill's at all necessary. In fact, you got ways to handle that anyway, and there were no charges filed. There were charges filed, but they were taken away.
Right. Keith, what do you think?
Absolutely no reason for this. Absolutely.
All right. So you guys are all in unison about that. But I did warn you it was coming.
You did.
The state of Missouri now requires anyone seeking gender-affirming care to first undergo 18 months of psychological therapy. You have a problem with that, Ogie?
Yeah, that's sad. I mean, they're just dehumanize and just kick them when they're down. I mean, they're already the most ostracized minority in the world. It's not a psychological thing. I mean, it's just they're going the wrong way.
All right, before they go into this, they have to have 18 months psychological.
I think that it's another case of sort of legislation trying to do medicine, just kind of deal with medical issues and mental health issues, and I think that all those things need to be left up to the professionals.
Gender affirming care, what do you mean? Like a gender
starting to make the
reassignment?
transition for male to female, female to male.
I think there needs to, especially if they're young. If they're older, no, but if you're younger, you need some counseling to decide whether or not you're going to do something like that.
Yeah, if you're under 18, I'd go with it. With that, yeah.
But still, 18 months, that may be too long before you ever do anything, because there are hormones, I mean, there are hormonal treatments, there are other kinds of things in the middle.
In order to make home loans more accessible to people with poor credit scores, President Biden plans to lower fees for those folks, which is a good idea. But he wants to charge an additional fee to people with good credit to lessen the bank's risk. Guys, shouldn't banks step up and shoulder the risk themselves rather than punishing people with good credit? Ogie?
Well, a friend of mine told me about that, and I told her that that can't be right. I don't believe it. And I looked it up, sure enough. And I know his motives are just. I mean, the idea of getting low-income and minority people a chance for the American dream. But it's kind of like, reminds me of 2008 when we went into the Great Recession. Bush was trying to get, these low-rent mortgages so that poor people could own homes.
Well, I'm not sure. All right, Don.
Yeah, I think that is ridiculous. Period. I think there's no. Let the banks pay for it, whatever it is, but you don't get a good credit score and then get punished.
Right, Keith.
I don't think it's ridiculous. I think number one, banks aren't going to do that because banks are in the business of making money, so they're not going to give anyone anything. And I think there should be some program for poor people to acquire a home. That's where most people's wealth come from.
And who should pay for it?
Okay, and finally,
we can't. I don't think the banks should. The banks aren't. They're not going to pay for it. So
if you guys are going to get in a fist fight, you got to do it in 10 seconds.
And it's okay if you got money, we should pay for it.
Finally, according to a poll by CNN, they need what's coming up here. The sale of legal marijuana now outpaces the sale of chocolate by a margin of $30 billion to $18 billion. Guys, are you surprised by this statistic? More people buying marijuana than chocolate? And do you buy more marijuana or chocolate, Ogie?
Well, since I don't buy marijuana anymore, I'd say chocolate.
Don.
I was surprised with that statistic, although, because my household, let me tell you, my wife buys a lot of chocolate.
Right.
So I couldn't believe it.
Is that code for something else?
No.
Keith, what do you buy more of, chocolate or pot?
I think it's even. I think people who buy marijuana want to eat chocolate.
I said you.
I don't buy pot at all.
Okay.
Zero.
All right, folks. Well, I'm glad you tuned in, folks, at home to the Liars Club. We appreciate you. Well, that's all the time we have, except for this. Sadly, last week, a lady named Mary Quant passed away at the age of 93. You say, well, who's Mary Quant? She invented the miniskirt. Now, appropriately, her funeral will be short. Did you get
Yeah, I get that.
I don't like any of you guys. I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next week.